Single dad lost everything. Then he bought an old bakery. Until the CEO who fired him walked in. The old bakery smelled of warm bread, cinnamon and hope, but the moment the glass door creaked open, every memory Daniel Carter had spent 2 years trying to bury came rushing back. His flour-covered hands froze over the dough. Standing in the doorway, dressed in an elegant cream blazer and heels that echoed across the wooden floor, was the woman who had destroyed his career with a single signature. The CEO who had fired him without mercy stared across the bakery in complete disbelief. She recognized him instantly. He had once managed multi-million-dollar operations for her company. Now, he was kneading bread in a forgotten neighborhood bakery. Neither of them knew that this unexpected meeting would change both of their lives forever. Before we continue this emotional journey, if you believe kindness always finds its way back, and everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who needs hope today. Leave a comment and subscribe to Heartfelt Chronicles for more inspiring stories that remind us humanity is stronger than pride. Only 3 years earlier, Daniel had been living what most people called the perfect life. At 38, he worked as one of the most respected regional operations managers for a successful food manufacturing company. He loved solving problems, mentoring younger employees, and building honest relationships with the people around him. But the greatest joy in his life wasn't his career. It was his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. After losing his wife to a sudden illness, Daniel had devoted every spare second to raising his little girl with love, patience, and unwavering optimism. She became his reason to keep moving forward, even on the darkest mornings. Life changed on a rainy Tuesday when Lily suffered a severe asthma attack at school. Daniel left an important corporate presentation halfway through after receiving the emergency call. He rushed to the hospital without thinking twice. While Lily recovered safely, Daniel believed any reasonable employer would understand a father's choice. Instead, the next morning, he was summoned into the executive conference room, where the company's newly appointed CEO, Victoria Hayes, coldly informed him that abandoning a critical meeting had cost the company an important investor. She refused to listen to his explanation. Policies, she insisted, existed for everyone. Within minutes, 20 years of loyalty ended with a termination letter slid across a polished conference table. Losing his job was only the beginning. The mortgage payments quickly became impossible. Medical bills from his wife's illness had already emptied their savings. Daniel sold his car first, then his furniture, and finally the small family home where Lily had taken her first steps. Every sacrifice hurt, but watching his daughter pretend not to notice their struggles hurt even more. She never complained when birthdays became simple homemade dinners or when new clothes came from thrift stores. Instead, she smiled and reminded her father that they still had each other. Those simple words became the only wealth Daniel had left. For months he searched desperately for work. Every interview ended the same way. Companies questioned the sudden termination on his record, and rumors spread faster than truth. Doors closed one after another until Daniel accepted temporary labor jobs simply to buy groceries. He worked construction, cleaned warehouses, unloaded delivery trucks, and repaired broken equipment, wherever someone would pay him by the hour. Every evening he returned home exhausted, but Lily greeted him with drawings taped to the apartment walls. Many of them showed a tiny bakery with smiling customers. She always said her father baked the best bread in the world because it tasted like home. Daniel smiled politely whenever she mentioned owning a bakery someday. Secretly, however, he remembered his late wife's passion for baking. Before illness stole her strength, she had dreamed about opening a neighborhood bakery where everyone would feel welcome. Daniel had learned every recipe beside her, believing it was only a hobby. Now those memories slowly became something greater than nostalgia. They became possibility. One afternoon, while delivering supplies across town, Daniel noticed a faded wooden sign hanging crookedly above a tiny abandoned bakery. Dust covered the windows, paint peeled from the walls. The building looked forgotten by everyone except time itself. A handwritten notice announced the property was for sale after years of closure. Daniel stepped inside. The ovens were ancient, the shelves broken, and the ceiling leaked whenever it rained. Still, he could almost hear his wife's laughter filling the empty room. He knew immediately that this place deserved another chance, just like he did. Using every remaining dollar from selling his house, borrowing a modest loan, and countless hours of unpaid labor, Daniel purchased the old bakery. Friends thought he had lost his mind. They saw an impossible business. Daniel saw hope wrapped in cracked bricks and worn wooden floors. Day after day, he repaired ovens, painted walls, fixed plumbing, and rebuilt counters with his own hands, while Lily completed homework in a corner surrounded by flour bags. Neighbors slowly noticed the hard-working father and his cheerful daughter, transforming the forgotten building into something beautiful. The bakery finally opened with only 6 types of bread, 2 cakes, fresh coffee, and homemade cinnamon rolls based on his wife's treasured recipe. The first morning only 4 customers arrived. The second day there were 7. Daniel never complained. He remembered every name, learned every regular's favorite pastry, and quietly slipped free bread into bags for elderly customers struggling to pay. He believed people returned, not only because the bread tasted wonderful, but because the bakery made them feel seen. Months passed, and something remarkable happened. Social media filled with stories about the humble single father who greeted every customer with genuine warmth. Teachers ordered breakfast for schools. Nurses stopped by after overnight shifts. Construction workers lined up before sunrise. Families celebrated birthdays with cakes carrying handwritten messages of encouragement instead of expensive decorations. The bakery became more than a business. It became the heart of the neighborhood. Then, on a cool autumn afternoon, the bell above the entrance rang, and Victoria Hayes stepped inside. She had come by accident after reading glowing online reviews about the city's most comforting bakery. She expected artisan bread. She never expected Daniel. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Victoria looked around at the smiling customers, shelves nearly empty from another successful day, and photographs covering one wall. They showed Daniel, Lily, neighborhood volunteers, firefighters, teachers, and elderly customers celebrating together. Every picture reflected a community built on kindness rather than profit. Victoria realized she had been wrong about him from the beginning. After firing Daniel, employee morale within her company had quietly collapsed. Talented managers resigned. Productivity declined. Investors questioned leadership decisions. The company earned money but lost its soul. Looking at Daniel's bakery, she finally understood what true leadership looked like. She watched as Daniel paused his work to help an elderly man carry fresh bread to his car before returning to comfort a little boy who had accidentally dropped a cupcake. He replaced it without charging a cent. There was no performance, no publicity, only natural compassion. For the first time in years, Victoria felt genuine regret. She had spent her career believing discipline created success. Daniel had proven that empathy created something far more valuable: loyalty, trust, and lasting impact. She quietly purchased several loaves of bread and left without causing a scene. But she returned the following week, then the next. Each visit revealed more about the community Daniel had built. Eventually, she admitted publicly that firing him had been the greatest leadership mistake of her career. Inspired by what she witnessed, she transformed her company's culture, introducing family-first policies, emergency leave protections, and employee support programs that would have saved Daniel years earlier. Daniel never returned to corporate life. He didn't need the impressive office, luxury salary, or executive title anymore. Every sunrise inside the bakery reminded him that losing everything had forced him to discover what truly mattered. His daughter grew up watching her father's resilience instead of his defeat. She learned that success isn't measured by wealth alone, but by the number of lives touched with kindness. One snowy evening, after closing time, Daniel stood outside the bakery, watching neighbors laugh together while carrying warm bread home for dinner. Now, the old building that everyone had ignored now glowed like a lighthouse against the winter sky. His wife's dream had finally become reality, not because life had been fair, but because love refused to surrender when everything else was lost. Before we reach the end, I have one heartfelt request. Please leave a comment below and tell us, if you lost everything tomorrow, what dream would you fight to rebuild? Your words may inspire someone who desperately needs hope today. If this story touched your heart, reminded you to never give up, or made you believe that kindness can transform even the deepest pain, please like this video, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to Heartfelt Chronicles. Your support allows us to continue bringing stories that inspire compassion, courage, and second chances. Sometimes life doesn't reward us by giving back what we lost. Sometimes it rewards us by leading us towards something far greater. Daniel lost his career, his home, and nearly his confidence, but he gained a purpose that no company could ever take away.